Hello, how you doing today? Okay, that's good. It's a Sunday, I'm in the shop, a few people have been in. Always a little bit quiet on a Sunday. It gives me a chance to write and to do some videos, things like that. Some things come to my attention that I find quite interesting, and I do find this subject interesting. However, I will state from the offset that it's not specifically my path to follow this sort of thing, and it's very easy to get distracted from what you should be doing. So I'll say that straight off, but I do find this whole subject of UFOs, crafts that seemingly come from somewhere other than planet Earth, in our airspace. And the reason I wanted to do this video is because recently there's been quite a lot of developments regarding what you would call a semi-disclosure. Now, a full disclosure is classed as when the governments of the planet admit that they've been in contact with ET for years and they've been helping them with technologies and things like that. That would be classed as a full disclosure. A semi-disclosure is actually what's happened, and that happened, I think it was about 18 months ago now, where the military, the Pentagon, saw fit to come forward and say that they've got lots of data regarding craft that is not theirs, and in their opinion they don't really like to comment on, but too much. They keep it very short what they say, but they know that it's technology that they haven't created and that probably isn't of earthly origin. They just don't know what these craft are, basically. It doesn't seem to follow any law of physics when they record and capture these phenomena. Now, there's been lots of heat signature recordings of these craft, and you can't really see what's going on other than these things are traveling at like Mach 7, which is like 7 times the speed of sound, and they don't seem to have any problem with aerodynamics. There's no forces acting upon their craft as they, and I'm saying they, you know, for want of a better term, as they travel in these craft, there's no forces acting on the craft, no physical forces acting back, as you would with a plane. For example, in a plane, you've got obviously wind resistance, air resistance, all these sorts of pressures that push back. But they seem to maneuver in ways that show that they're outside of physical space. And so the physical laws that we are bound to in the physical dimension don't seem to apply to these craft and whoever is traveling in these craft. And that's really interesting in itself. And the Pentagon has come forward and announced all this, that these images that are on the web are correct. They're genuine images of craft, but they don't know what the craft are. They don't even try to go into that. They just say, we don't know what this is. It exists. It's a real phenomena. And that's all we're saying on the subject. So that's classed as a semi-disclosure, to admit that there's these craft in our airspace. We don't know what they are, and we've got no explanations for how they move and how they seem to operate. And the second reason I wanted to do this video is there's been a really good photograph. Now, these fighter pilots that come into contact with this sort of phenomena, probably more than the average person because they're up there doing their thing, they've been encouraged now to take snapshots. Now, how do they take snapshots from their cockpit? I mean, do they have their mobile phones? I don't know, but that's what it seems to be. It seems like they've been asked to take snapshots, personal snapshots themselves, of any craft that comes close that to their plane, to their fighters, that they can't explain. Just take photos and let's try to build up some sort of a visual library of what these things could be. And there's this really interesting photograph taken from a pilot in a fighter jet, and this was taken a few months back, and I'm going to pop it on right now. I first become aware of this photograph on a channel belonging to, I think her name's Fran Blanche. She's a scientist, but she talks about various fringe subjects that I guess a lot of scientists would want to shy away from. She's really cool. She covers loads of subjects and this kind of thing as well, this whole UFO phenomena, and gives her spin, her scientific angle on what they might be. I'll leave the link in the descriptions. I think I've got her name right, Fran Blanche, I think her name is. And check out her YouTube channel, it's good. So as we look at this photograph, we can see that there's structure, there's form. These things are only small. The fighter pilot said basically about the size of a small sports car. So maybe something like an MG, something like that. Which is interesting because when you think about the depictions on films of coming into contact with an alien species, for example, if this is what these guys are, we always have this idea of Close Encounters where a massive mothership comes down the size of a city. But it seems to be, if these are from other planets or other dimensions, and it's looking like they are, the Pentagon are being very sketchy about what they're saying, but it's what they're not saying really that's making me think that these are genuine photos of craft originating from not this planet. Let's just say that, somewhere other than this planet. If we're to go along with these thoughts and go down this thought track, there's one thing that really strikes me, and that's there's no logo. There doesn't seem to be a logo on the side of these craft. And if you think about how we tend to structure our societies with logos, corporations, governments, that sort of thing, I would be more worried if there was an alien logo on the side of this thing. I'd be more worried because that's like corporations that, if you think about our corporations, that want to gain resource for the sake of resource, power for the sake of power. But there's a glaring lack of identity on this craft. It's just a thing that's doing its thing. And as I say, the size of a small sports car, so no massive mothership. They seem to be able to blip in and out of existence. So when the fighter pilots get too close, the craft, the mysterious craft, just seems to vanish, dematerialize in the blink of an eye, just blips out and then reappears a mile or so away. So they seem to be able to dematerialize, rematerialize. It's almost like they're jumping out of our space, out of our airspace and into another type of realm, if you like, another energetic realm, and then back into our physical dimension. And that's what seems to be happening. I mean, obviously we're just kind of free-forming here. We're just thinking out loud, so to speak. But yeah, interesting, I thought. No logos, no markings of any kind, just a little alien sports car. And I think that's probably a promising thing, that there's no indication of corporations and governments and stuff like that, because yeah, that's where things can go wrong. The other thing that I wanted to mention was I watched a documentary of a sergeant that used to work in one of the silos, the nuclear silos, and he said it would be a regular occurrence for one of these small guys to suddenly start zipping around the silos, and they'd never be worried, and no one that worked at the silos where the nuclear missiles were would never be worried, because often it was when something was going a little bit wrong and they were struggling to stabilize something within the silo, and they was having a bit of a bad day, and these guys would show up and everything would be miraculously fixed in moments. So this sergeant guy said, I don't know what they are, but I like having these guys around because they fix things. They fix things, and we don't know how they fix things, but they just do. They fix things that potentially could be very dangerous if we don't fix them. So that's interesting in itself. This was a genuine guy, you know, so I find that very interesting. So, okay, what do you guys think? That's the main reason for this little video. What do you think about this craft? What do you think about this photograph? Bearing in mind it is a genuine photo of something that the Pentagon do not know what it is. They can't explain what it is. They can't explain the technology. They can't explain how it works, how it defies the laws of physics the way it does. Let me know in the comments and we'll have a little discussion about this subject if you want to. It's a very interesting subject, isn't it? Okay, well, thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you really, really soon. Bye for now.